It's another episode of the Next Fix podcast. Today we've got Mia Godfrey. She's professional, and like many people, it started because of some rough circumstances. And so she's here to talk about that. And I really appreciate her courage and her ability to be transparent. And so, but before all that, Mia, I just give us like a real high level introduction of yourself, who you are, and where you're from, and all that. Because I know it's not the U.S. And I always find that so exciting, and I admire people that are willing to start new and fresh in a different place. So just tell us real quickly what you're all about.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. I'm originally from Romania. I grew up under the communist regime, and our country got out from under the communists in December of 1989. However, it took many years from there for the country to actually be where it's at today. And my mother was known as the prayer warrior. But on the other side, my father was working so extremely hard to provide for us, for the kids. Our main thing every day was survival, was finding food. And that was my father's responsibility. And because it was such a huge burden on him, he also had a moonshine distillery. And that's how everything started for me at a very early age, as far as
Whoa.
taking a path of
Yeah.
addiction.
So,
Mhm.
and so forgive me, right? And
Yeah.
I say that, and then openly I understand, like, it's so foreign to me. And I'm thankful that it is, because my God, that just sounds like so many stacked layers of disadvantage, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so hard. Like I'm hearing that your father's like sole responsibility was to find food. Your mother is in charge of holding everybody together, faithfully. And I mean, it's just something that I don't understand. And what an amazing journey that it is, that's where you began. And so just real quickly though, like I don't understand, like when you say distillery, and then I never even heard that description. Like what does that look like? Is it like an underground kind of thing, or was
So
that legal, or how did it look?
no, it was not legal. So he worked in construction, and he was extremely, extremely smart. So he found some old books, and he built his own. First, he built a secret room on our property that had extremely thick walls that nobody could hear, because we were not allowed to have. My father had. We always had two pigs a year, one for Easter and one for Christmas, that it will keep us 6 months for us to eat. And he built those rooms so nobody can hear the noise of the animals. They were extremely thick walls. And there in that room, he also built, from old books that he found, he built a machine out of copper to make his own moonshine. So he
Wow.
hid it in that room. So a lot of times he was selling that for money or for meat for us or any type of other food. I remember one time he sold it for a goat and
Yeah.
brought the goat home and immediately had to butcher it so the goat wouldn't make noise and the neighbors won't find out, because if you had anything like that hidden from the government, you were arrested. And we
Wow.
had friends of ours that got arrested due to government finding other ways of providing food for their family. The government was restricting the food,
So
what came into our home.
I feel like I could talk to you for like a week. And so, so now were the neighbors would sell you out? Is that what it was? Like if they,
Yes. Yeah.
wow. Like,
My father actually got arrested. He was gone for about 6 months. We didn't know if he was dead. We didn't know if he was going to come home. I was very young at that time. That is because a neighbor actually, they said they heard the goat. Well, by the time the authorities came to look for the goat was gone and the meat was hidden in barrels. So they couldn't find the goat. But it was that strict in the area of the country where my family lived. It was
that's
extremely strict.
so somebody heard a goat. They came for your father. The goat was gone, and he still like got locked up.
He
That
still got locked up. Yeah.
It's the craziest. Nobody in the US could, I mean, unless they're also from Romania, like there's nobody who could understand an existence like that. That is, I mean, I know that we could, I mean, I could just ask you a billion questions. I want to try to like stay focused on who you are now, right? So, but now as a result of that, right, there's this moonshine. And then a lot of times when there's a lack of options to cope, this is when substances get introduced because it makes sense. It's cheap. It works, right? And it's like, why not get involved with this stuff to make me feel better, right? And so is that, and I suspect I
Yes.
could be wrong. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what happened?
So, yes, for my father, he was one of the most loving and most caring person I know. However, he grew up under such a abuse himself that he never used the words "I love you." He never. That was a foreign concept. But we knew with everything he was sacrificing, everything he was doing, we knew that his love for us, it was genuine. He just had no other way. That was the only thing he knew how to cope with what was going on in the country and the burden he had on himself. He turned to alcohol. And I wish sometimes, I say, I wish my father would have been here and he would have got the help he needed, because I was able to find the community that helped me years after, not before I was 24. But
So is that what,
just
so, and I know there's so much that goes in between. So, but is that what you did? You started kind of probably seeing that's what, like
the
that's how you
first
cope.
time, yeah, the first time I ever tasted alcohol, I was 7. But by the time I was 13, it became a coping mechanism. I remember when I saw a crime happening when I was 13 years old, and a girl was pushed from a third floor, and I saw her falling, and her body was distorted, and she was trying to motion me to run, but I was so frozen because the people who did it, they kind of controlled that area of the city where we were at. And I remember I got home and I was trying so hard to get those images out of my head. So that was the first time I remember that I went to my father's stash and I just started drinking until I passed out. And I remember that I numbed the pain. And I was like, wow, okay, so that's
It
all I
works.
knew, and that's what I saw in my father. So I
Yeah.
start drinking every time I could, and it became part of my life. It became part of my identity at the time. And when I was 18 years old, my father passed away. And I remember I was sitting at the funeral. I'm the youngest of 10 children. And I was sitting by the grave, and I remember it was mud everywhere. It was the end of April, and my siblings are crying, my mom was crying, and I was just sitting there numb because that morning I stole pills and I mixed them. I drank them with alcohol, and I was just so. It took me many years to forgive myself. I couldn't even be sober for my own father's funeral. And it's hard to explain to people who never dealt with an addiction how that was. It's hard to explain because people will go immediately to judge that how could you do that, but in the same time they didn't understood the demons that I was battling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But the thing
where
is, it works. That's that's why I feel I understand, is because you had one mission, and it was to escape the
that's it.
feeling and escape the circumstance. And guess what? That's what alcohol does. It does it for the next couple of hours or at least a day. In
Yeah.
the short term, it works and it's there. So it's like it's a no-brainer for somebody that's in deep, deep agony. It's like,
Yeah.
why not do it? And it's because you're forgetting the future, of course, but in the short run, you're a child, you're standing next to your father's grave. You don't want to feel any of that. And so guess what? Yeah, pills and alcohol, they'll get you there. They'll get you to where you want to be in the moment. And that's just it's so wild. But I want to know how that was in Romania. And then so I guess, were you currently using in the US, and like how did that kind of all develop?
No, by the time I made it to the US, I was able to. So for many years after I left home, because I was dealing with so much shame, I was dealing with so, I said, I cannot bring more embarrassment to my family. So I left home when I was 18 years old, and I was not capable of doing life on my own. I was just 18, and I went like 700 miles away, and I started cleaning homes for people, and I started doing the best that I could to survive. And for that, I went in a few years, I spiraled out of control. I went in and gravitated towards abusive relationships because that's what I knew. That was the only thing that was familiar for me. And I was like, I don't even deserve more. So those were the relationship I went to, and they were extremely abusive physically. So from one, I moved to the next, and the abuse continued. And only through God's grace, my fiance at the time, who was extremely abusive. He ended up becoming the father of one of my best friend's baby. And I knew that, okay, that there's nothing for me here. So I remember I packed a bag and I left, and I end up in a Christian, I had no home. I was like, I don't know where to go. So I heard of this Christian college that I submitted my application, and they sent me a letter at the time, and they said I got in. I was like, well, that's my way out. So I said, I'm going to go to that college. Well, I didn't realize how strict that college was. So they said that if I got drink, I get kicked out. And I said, I'll be
Sure.
homeless. So what I did, it was extremely hard. And it was this vicious cycle of keep not drinking and then pick it up again, and just back and forth, back and forth. But it was so strict, and the fear of being homeless, and I had no place to go. So what I did, I ended up getting 3 jobs while I was going to college to
What?
constantly be busy, constantly have accountability. So I was getting up 4:30 to 5 a.m., go to the first job. Then I was a administrative assistant at the college, and I was getting there really, really early. And then I remember in the break between classes, I was falling asleep. I was so extremely tired. But right after that was over, I was going to work at an orphanage, and
Oof.
weekends I was cleaning more homes. And that helped me pay for college, but in a sense, it gave me so much accountability, and out of fear. I'm not saying it was easy. It was extremely hard.
Yeah.
And when I was 27 years old, I met my first husband, who passed away in 2015, but he came on a mission trip, and I was working at that orphanage. And that's how I met my husband. We talked for about 8 months, and we got married. We actually saw each other 3 times prior to getting married. And I moved to the United States, and I
So he
was
was from the U.S.
27 years old.
He was from the
Yeah.
U.S.
Yeah, he
So
was from it.
yeah, and there's something to be said for that approach with basically just staying so busy that the room for like the enemy to come in and introduce or tempt you is like if you could shrink those windows, like there's a real approach there. And I remember I was like in a men's program, and that was their approach. It's like just keep you busy and let fear kind of like move you forward, and like just keep that pressure on. And then that is a way to do it, right? I mean, there is that is I've seen and heard a lot of success that way. And sure, yeah, if you just never have a moment to even get the chance to go pick up, right? Like you just go from one responsibility to the next. And then, who knows, it worked for yourself. Bless, God for introducing you to that circumstance. But to your point, it's not easy either, right? It's like,
No,
it's,
no.
yeah,
And even now, today, I'm still extremely careful to try to constantly have accountability in my life, because I know how easy it is, because I played this game so many times. So
right.
many times. I have time, I was like, it's just one glass. That's it. One
Yeah.
glass. And that always turns into more. And I've learned that I have no self control, no matter how strong I think I am. So when I lost my first husband in 2015, he was 42 years old. And it was unexpectedly. He was a lieutenant for the police department in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that was my biggest fear. I think I am terrified. I'm terrified because I know how easy it is for me to numb that pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I once again turned to overworking. And I got 3 jobs after he passed. So instead of grieving and take the time to heal and grieve, what I did, I dived into getting 3 jobs. And people was like, why are you doing that? But I was so ashamed. At that point, nobody knew that I was dealing and I was fighting those demons. I
Yeah.
said, "Oh no, I just like to stay busy." That was not the entire true. I was fighting for my life. I was fighting. I said, I have nobody here in the United States. I don't have family. I need to make sure I keep the roof over my head. I need to make sure I don't turn to an addiction that about destroying me and destroyed a lot of relationships that I had. So I went back into that cycle, not knowing that overworking can also become an addiction.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. And I know that moderation's not on the table for me, right? Like I like I know I have to be addicted to something. And some people may be like, "Oh, that's awful. You can't do that. Like you're not supposed to be addicted to anything." Yeah, okay, easy for you to say. But if I have to be addicted to something, I'll take work over alcohol and drugs any day of the week. And so like if somebody might be able to cast stones like, "Oh, that's still not right." Sure, it's not right, but it's what I got. So like if I'm going to get addicted and it's the gym, okay, fine. I'll exercise 3 times a day, every day of the week, instead of picking up the alcohol bottle and then disappearing for a month and not knowing what happened and I'm in jail,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's an addiction and it's not the best, but it beats booze and pills, that's for sure, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
And so, and now clearly you're going to be addicted to work for the rest of your life, but I admire that. So, like, hey, like I also say this too, right? I think that addicts make the world go round, right? I think that, Mother Teresa was addicted to peace. I say that, Steve Jobs was addicted to innovation. There's people and they were addicts. And sure,
Yes.
yeah, they were unhealthy in their pursuit. But it's like that tenacity shouldn't be overlooked because it's changed the world. And so if you
Mhm.
could take that tenacity and that addiction and write a book and be there for people, then yeah, guess what? Like it's the healthiest version of addiction that exists. So it's like if you're gonna be an addict, be addicted to something that's useful. Right. So
Makes a
so
difference in the
right,
world.
right. And
Yeah.
so and you and I both know what it's like to be useless and that sucks.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yeah.
well, so, you've mentioned a few times that your first husband did, and then does that mean that you had that what does life look like for you now? Like,
I remarried in 2020, 4 years and a half after my first husband passed. I met Kenny. And after my first marriage, I promised myself I will never remarry. I don't want to bring that type of grief in my life. What if? I was living with a lot of what ifs, what ifs. And I said I would not, but God had a different plan. So He brought in my life the most amazing husband. And actually, the second book we co-wrote together, and it's called The Second Sunrise because it talks about second chances in life, that if you just allow God to work in your heart and trust Him with all your heart, He has a plan for your life. Doesn't
yeah,
mean that we need to completely shut down, because I did for about 4 years and a half.
yeah. And so in that interim, you turned to work, right? And then yeah. However, what I keep hearing is that faith was rather constant, right? That was
Yes.
right. Well,
Yes. Yeah.
that's a real blessing because
Yeah, my mom always, when we were kids, the way she helped us cope with what was going on around us, what was going on, and growing up under the communist regime, she got us to memorize a lot of Psalms and a lot of Bible verses. And I think that's where my love for books, I read over 100 books a year. And
wow.
I since I came to the United States, I got over 30 certifications. So that's an obsession, like learning and growing. That's also an obsession of mine, which helps where I am today. It helped tremendously. But yes, my mom always tried to get us to memorize those things.
Yeah.
She always used to say, and it's hard for people in America to understand, but because we didn't have religious freedom, she used to say, what if the Bible that we know today is going to disappear tomorrow? Do you have the word of God in your mind? So
Wow.
she used to get us like every single night before we went to bed. She used to recite Psalm from memory, and we used to have to repeat after her to memorize them. So by the time we were adults, we know a lot. And she used to laugh and she said, if we put all the kids together with what everyone memorized, we'll be able to write the Bible ourselves.
Oh my
But
God.
that was her way of putting the word of God into us. But again, all that came because we didn't have the religious freedom and we couldn't just walk around with the Bible. We had to hide that.
It's like I don't want to go back to, if we go back to that part of the conversation, my brain goes crazy just trying to understand what I could never understand. And that's just, it's such a difference here. And so I'm very thankful that you and I don't live in that existence, at least not anymore, right? So that's well, what developed as a result of all of these certifications and your pursuit of knowledge? And so how did that kind of develop here in the States? And then you went to the second book and we haven't talked about the first book. So what did all that like what I would call is like your current existence? Like how does that look?
Well, when I came to the United States, I barely knew English. And I bought a dictionary, and that's how I was trying to piece the words together to talk with my husband, which was not the easiest thing. When he passed away, actually in the safe, I found a stack of letters. Those were the letters I wrote to him using a dictionary. And I was like, I don't know how this man understood anything I was saying. So when I came to the United States, I had no driving license. I didn't know the language enough to get my driving license, so I decided to start learning English. So within 6 months, I learned enough to get my first job. I got my driving license in February of 2029. No, I'm sorry, 2009. And I got my first job the same month because I said, I got to practice my English. So from there, I just start. I realized how many tools I had here in the United States that I didn't have in Romania, for example, a computer and access to online trainings. And I just dive deep and I start learning at my own pace.
Yeah.
But where the first book came, you mentioned that in 2023, one of my sister got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And to that point, I became her caretaker. And for 11 months, we talked about legacy. We talked about lost dreams. We talked about things that we want to accomplish together and weren't able to. And through that, she said, you need to write our story, what it meant to us and for our family to live under the communist regime. And I'm not saying that's everybody's story. For us, we were in such a poor community that we were easily manipulated and easily controlled. When we got water in the house, I remember we used to walk for miles to bring water with the buckets because the government turned our water off, or when we had heat in the middle of the winter and they used to give us tiny, tiny pills to suppress our appetite. And it was extremely hard in the part of the country and the little city where we lived under. And she said, you need to write all those down. Also, in that, she told me she was the only person in my family that knew that I battled alcohol addiction because my mom, when the alcohol was disappearing in the house and my mom used to get hit by my father over it, she always thought it was my brothers. And they never pointed towards me because they said, oh, I'm the baby, I'm the youngest, I'm a female, female don't
Right.
do that. And I was ashamed to confess that. And my sister Mona, she knew. And she says, sis, you need to come clean. You need to be vulnerable because you never know how many other people they're dealing exactly with the same thing. And I was like, I'm a woman in my 40s. I'm not gonna go out there and say, look at me, I'm such a mess. I mean,
Yeah.
Romanians are very prideful.
Huh?
And it took me a long time and a lot of fights. But you know what? Through the entire time, I never felt judged by my sister. She
Yeah.
always says, sis, I know you're battling a lot of demons, but I will always be here praying for you. But she never said, you're destroying your life. You're destroying the life of everybody around you. She never said those words to me. She just said, I'm always going to be here praying for you. So when she passed away in the end of 2023, I came home and I told my husband, I love you, but I don't know where to go from here. I feel like I lost my purpose. She was my light. She was my best friend. She was the only person that ever believed in me. And with him encouraging me, and my therapist started writing. And 3 months into it, they both said, my therapist and my husband, they read and said, you got to publish that. I said, this is my journal. I can't just publish. I pour my heart into this. And
Mm,
they said, just give it a try.
yeah.
So I did. And the way God worked, the book is called Buried, Not Broken. My mom always used to say, we're not broken. None of us are broken. We might feel buried by the weight of life, but when you are buried, in any moment, you're ready to bloom. You just have to be ready because God has a plan for you. So that's why the book
Yeah.
I named it Buried but Not Broken.
So the alcohol was disappearing, and I know I'm going backwards in the story here, but they've got these 10 kids. The alcohol's going away. The youngest, unsuspected culprit, right? And so then your mom gets beaten by your dad because that's how things were. And yeah, that is a heavy weight. And so you're trying to numb everything, but now you've got an extra force kind of, reintroducing the cycle. This just is so, yeah, I'm glad your sister really put the pressure on you to share that and to get you, sometimes we need a little push in order to
Yeah.
muster up the courage. And well, good on you for that. Like that is just such it's an amazing journey. And so, well, that was the first book. And so the first book, from what I can gather, is a testament to your lineage and to your family. And it's a publication of your personal thoughts, right? And that's what the first,
Yes.
right.
Yes. A memoir.
And so when you came home after your sister had passed, right? And then so you're back in the States, and then, I guess what did life in that
I took
interim?
care of her here in the States.
Oh,
She actually got married with a pastor in Montana.
oh,
So she moved to Montana in 2021. They were married for 2 years. Yeah, so I was traveling. I moved to Montana and I was her caretaker for 11 months. And my husband was coming to visit me once or twice a month. And I was coming home once a month
yeah.
on the
Okay. So
weekends.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was all going on in the States. Thank you for that. That to clarify is so. But you had said, like, now did it fill that gap writing that book? I mean, how did, because you said you lost your purpose, and then to your point is that there's always this overarching fear that alcohol gets reintroduced into your life. Did that do it? Did that fill the purpose, that book?
That At that point, I was just so numb. My only thing I was thinking, I said, I need to fulfill my sister's wish. And I just start writing. And at that point, I was like, I don't even care what anybody thinks about me. I don't even know. I said, but what if there's one person out there that picks up that book and say, you know what, that book's helped me to take care of my own demons and be able to work on my own healing. And it was for the first time in my life that I didn't care about being rejected. I didn't care about not belonging. I didn't care about what anybody else is gonna say. And I just
Yeah.
started writing. And I think my sister knew all along that that will free me and it will bring so much healing to just put everything out there and not having to take those secrets with me to the grave, because that's what I promised myself, that I'll take everything to the grave. But there's no need for that, because what if somebody else can pick it up and realize that there is hope for me also. So at that point, I didn't care. And I realized how much I mean, I was, because I have a full-time job as talent acquisition operations manager for a cell phone company. And during the day I had to work. So I started getting up at 4 o'clock and 4:30, and I just start writing until 7, then go take a shower, get ready, go to work, and then come home and write some more. And I realized the love for writing. My husband used to come about 7 o'clock. Are you going to work today, babe? And I was like, yeah. I said, 7 o'clock. I was like, whoa. Because the words were keep coming. So as soon as I submitted the first manuscript, I started on the second, and all of this within a year.
Yeah.
So first book came out in March, second book comes in September. I already have the third manuscript ready for the third book, because this time in the mornings is my sacred time to actually sit down and allow the Lord to just give me the words. And because I've realized the impact the
Yeah.
first book had, and not necessarily here in the United States or Romania. The biggest impact that book had was actually in India.
Wow.
Within 3 days, my book became international bestseller in 5 different categories, and the majority of my buyers were in India. And that is not something that was planned. That was not something
You could have,
that was God.
yeah,
God
you
knew
couldn't
that
even
that's
see
going to
it.
be my country. That's going to be the place where my book will resonate with a lot of people.
So what an absolute blessing. And this is like something I keep kind of, I feel my heart being pulled towards it, because that process that you just explained is so amazing, to be on fire, and like the thoughts are coming from your mind, and just, and it's like, it almost takes on like a different kind of experience, or a different kind of being, or maybe it's the Holy Spirit, whatever that force is, where the words are just flowing out of you. It's like there's nothing like it. And it's so, even to your point earlier about how if nobody reads it, it doesn't matter. And so being in that state, right, that creation state, is what I feel that we were made for. And so to embrace it, and pour into it, and really make it happen, it's like, it's such an experience. And I feel very grateful that I feel the exact same way. Like when you wake up at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you're on fire, like you don't need coffee, you don't need all you want is to get back to that creation state. And then so when you get into that gear, the world starts to kind of melt away, and then you're just in a flow. And so
Yeah.
that's an amazing thing. Now, what are you planning to do with the India development, right? Like it seems like maybe you're going to embrace that. Like how does
Absolutely. So an influencer picked up my book. This influencer talked about it on his account, and then there was another influencer picked it up. They contact me. Next thing was a events planner and contact me to go speak. They invited me to speak in Dubai and Thailand this year alone.
gosh,
And just because they said I write with a heart, and they said that they are hard people, and they understood. And I got so many emails and messages that say, I really resonated with your story. So I will, as long as God opens the door, I will take it. But yeah, my husband is coming with me actually to Dubai in November, and that is through somebody in India that picked up my book.
wow. Oh my gosh, what an amazing adventure. And listen, so you're writing in English, is that right? You're
Yes. Yeah.
right. And you started by, these letters with like, you know, words that you're choosing out of a dictionary, which I can't even imagine how difficult that is, because the syntax isn't there. You're just like, you look at a word, it's like, oh, peculiar. I like that word. And then like you stick it in. That's absolutely a miracle that you can like put together an entire, because you speak so well, right? And now you're
Thank you.
writing in English, and it all began from zero, right? Like it began
Yes.
from nothing. Gosh, what an inspiration. It's so amazing. Golly. Okay. So, all right. So the second book, forgive me if you've already said this, is the second book out yet? Is it?
So the second book, actually have them here. So that's my first book, Buried Not Broken. And the second book is called Second Sunrise Together. So it talks about second chances in life. It talks about no matter what you're going through, God has a plan. And everything that happens to us in life, it didn't happen to us. It happened for us. Because today I can sit on a stage and I can empower other people who went through that hardship, and I can try to inspire and transform people's lives. I would have never been able to do that if I didn't go through what I went through. So the second book, it's my husband and I co-writing. So I have some chapters, he has some chapters, because he had a past that he didn't talk to anybody about it. He had his own demons to fight, which we all do, but we're too prideful to admit it and say, I'm a mess. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're too prideful because every single one of us deal with something.
Yeah. It's what a gift. And it's so hard for people that are in the trenches. It's because hearing it is one thing, but feeling it and like embracing that, like in your bones, which I feel is it's imperative to getting better. But man, I understand that it's easier said than done. And so then there's people like yourself out there that are like, shining a little bit of light on the possibility and, the inspiration, of course, is such an absolute gift. And so you're going to Dubai, you've now embraced an audience in India. I mean, yeah. And who could have ever foreseen that? Right. And
The book will take off in Romania, which it did not. Only 2% of the books sold actually were sold in Romania.
yeah.
Over 80% has been in India.
Yeah. And so, and that, now that's a business thing a lot of times. Like just, you think so, you're like, this message is perfect. And you go and you try to like for instance, my book is Man Up, Sober Up, right? You'd think that it would be 99% men that read this book. It's a lot of women. Like there's a lot of women. And I just thought to myself, like, that doesn't make any sense. That wasn't what was.
I'm going to purchase that book today, actually.
But you just don't know, and it lends to how much we truly know about each other, and I think that's the roller coaster we get to be on every day, is that we're in this world and we get to bounce up against other humans, and then hopefully under the umbrella of God, then it's such a wild adventure to be on, and yours seems like it's just beginning. It's like this.
Yes. Something else that started from this year, I started my own retreats called the Reset the Purpose retreats. And it's to help people find that identity and step into their purpose. Because too many times we're just going in circles doing the same thing, and we are in a state that it's not longer serving us or serving anybody. We're just going through the motions. So this retreat is actually to help people realize that they cannot put their identity in their work, or not even in their children, not even in their spouse, because life changes. Kids grow, kids go to college, and then what? You can lose your job, and then what?
Yeah.
So it's about teaching them how to find their identity and step into their purpose. So we're actually having one in August 14th is the next one. And then we'll have the next one after that will be in April. And it's been a God thing because it's selling out extremely fast,
Wow.
way before I close it. So that's a God thing. And I know I will continue with the retreat and the events, because that's where I see the most transformation. That's where I see people having breakthroughs and say, you know what? I am created for more. I am made for more. I can do that. So that is another layer that came from writing the first book.
So Well, and now help me to where are the like I forgot.
So as of right now, the first one is close to Knoxville, Tennessee, in the mountains of Smoky Mountains.
Yeah. Okay.
But in the next couple of years, I will expand. I will have one in the mountains of Transylvania and Romania. And I
Mm,
already have people who said, put me on the list, I'll be there, which is going to be more expensive because you have to pay for the airfare. But it's something sacred about, I don't know. I love the beach, but being out in the nature, no cell phone
yeah.
for 3 days and just connect with God and connect with yourself. To me, that's the direction that I'm going. In the next few years, I will do it in Europe.
Do you like? I want to know why Romania? What like do you plan on? It seems like you really want the Romanians to embrace your path, your journey. Is that an effort for that? I guess.
Yes. I,
Yeah.
I have a few clients because I'm a life coach also. I'm a Bible counselor and I'm a EME practitioner. And yes, all of this, what I'm still holding my day job
Yeah.
for now. God knows when will be time. But in Romania, I do have clients that reached out after they read my book and
Okay.
they said that I don't know, I don't know where to start. I don't want anybody to know that I'm dealing with this, but I need more. There's got to be more to life. And I already have a group of clients that said that they will come. And that will be an easier way. So that will be one way for me to create that safe space and safe weekend for some of the clients that I have in Europe.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could hear your heart. Like you really want to get to those roots that you came and you want to help people that like haven't been able to make that jump to the US or and they're kind of maybe still kind of feeling that lingering effect of the communist regime
Yeah.
and growing up the way that you did. It's natural to want to like help. And I also think that it's important to help people where we were, and that's like, it's like I have a heart for people that were exactly where I was. And I think that that's kind of the point of it all, right?
Yeah.
Like, because there's nobody more uniquely equipped and gifted to help Romanians that are still dealing with a lingering communist regime than you, right?
Yeah.
Like you're the
Thank
perfect, not me. Like I wouldn't have any business doing that. So here you are uniquely gifted and set up for helping those people exactly. So that's really, really, all of it is absolutely amazing. I mean, you just
Thank
blown
you.
my mind. And just so anybody might know, like we're recording this pretty early and I was feeling foggy coming into this. And I was like, I gotta wake up. Like, I don't know if you noticed, I was like looking around for the coffee that I didn't make. I don't, and now I'm like, now I'm on fire because of hearing about what you are accomplishing, what you're doing. And it's absolutely, it's just such a gift. And so, I tell everybody where to go if they do want to get involved in the retreat. Like, what would that look like? Next steps? Like, where could they find the book? All of those things. And I'll have all of that in print. I'll make sure that it's all black and white too, so they can just click, but it helps.
So the first book you can find, of course, on Amazon, but it's also in Barnes and Noble and Walmart, and it's already out in the stores, in libraries. But second book, it's on pre-order right now on Amazon, and I kept everything simple. My name is Mia Godfrey. Actually, that's not my real name. That's the name I've been using. My real name is Mihaela Nicoleta Halip Henry Godfrey, but I couldn't put that on a book. I didn't want people to have to try to set my name. It's not a memorable name because it's extremely long. So I stay with Mia Godfrey.
So is it Nitson, right? Like that,
Right?
like
Someday, I might be able to use my name, maybe for the fiction books.
yeah.
And
I
so,
interrupted you. So
right?
Walmart, Barnes and
Mia
Noble.
Godfrey. Yeah. So Mia Godfrey on website is Mia Godfrey, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Just put my name, Mia Godfrey. You will find me.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation. I feel very blessed to have had it. So, but yes, all right, everybody, go out there, check out Mia Godfrey, get your tickets to Transylvania now. and yeah, this has been another episode of The Next Fix. See you on the next one.
Thank you so much, Ryan.